Introduction, the philosopher who trusted no one, correctly. Arthur Schopenhauer is remembered as philosophy's great pessimist, the man who declared human existence a pendulum between pain and boredom, dined alone at the same restaurant for decades, and preferred his poodle to most people. What is remembered less often is why his misanthropy proved so useful. Schopenhauer was, before almost anyone else, a systematic student of human deception. While other philosophers described how rational beings ought to communicate, he described how they actually do, and his conclusion was bracing. Beneath every polished sentence, he argued, operates something he called the will, a blind, insatiable striving that wants what it wants and treats the intellect as its lawyer, not its judge. Read that again, because it is the foundation of everything that follows. The intellect is the will's lawyer. People do not usually reason their way to positions and then defend them. They hold positions, driven by appetite, fear, vanity, advantage, and deploy reason afterward, as advocacy. Which means that lying, for Schopenhauer, is not an occasional malfunction of communication. It is communication's factory setting whenever interests are at stake. The wonder is not that people deceive, the wonder is that anyone expects otherwise. But here is the gift hidden inside the gloom. Precisely because deception is systematic, it is detectable, the will leaks, constantly, through channels the liar cannot fully control. Schopenhauer catalogued these leaks across his essays, most famously in The Art of Being Right, his sardonic dissection of dishonest argument. Assembled and modernized, his observations form a working method, a 30-second protocol for smelling a lie before your politeness talks you out of it. This article builds that protocol, 5 checks, each rooted in one Schopenhauerian insight. Check 1, ask what the will wants, seconds 1 to 5. Before evaluating a single word of what someone tells you, Schopenhauer's method demands one prior question: what does this person's will want from this conversation? Not what are they saying, what would they gain if you believed it? The salesman's will wants the commission. The colleague's will wants the promotion you are both eyeing. The flatterer's will wants access. The tearful borrower's will wants the loan. Interest is the gravity of every exchange, and words bend around it as reliably as light bends around mass. This first check takes 5 seconds and eliminates the single greatest vulnerability honest people have, evaluating statements in a vacuum, as if they were peer-reviewed findings rather than moves in a game. Schopenhauer's rule of thumb was cheerfully cynical: where interest and assertion point the same direction, discount steeply; where an assertion runs against the speaker's interest, weight it heavily. The manager praising the reorganization that doubles his department deserves one level of scrutiny; the manager criticizing the reorganization that doubles his department deserves your close attention, because statements against interest are the closest thing conversation offers to gold. Note what this check does not require: any cleverness about body language, any confrontation, any evidence. It is pure structure. You are simply refusing to forget, for the duration of the conversation, that a will is present and hungry. Most lies die right here, at second 5, because most lies are exactly as sophisticated as their motive is visible. Check 2, watch for the lawyer's overwork, seconds 5 to 12. Truth, Schopenhauer observed, tends to be lazy. It states itself and rests, because it has somewhere solid to rest. Reality backs it, so it feels no need to perform. Deception has no such ground, and therefore cannot stop working. This asymmetry produces the second check signature, overconstruction. Listen, in the next 7 seconds, for effort where none should be needed. The unrequested detail: you asked when he left the office and received the parking spot, the weather, and a stranger who can allegedly confirm it. The preemptive defense: I know how this sounds, but, arriving before anything sounded like anything. The rehearsed smoothness: a story delivered in suspiciously final draft prose, identical on the second telling. Honest memory is reconstructive, slightly messy, corrected mid-sentence. A memorized text is neither. And the classic tells of the overworked lawyer: unprompted oaths, I swear on my mother, credential waving, ask anyone who knows me, and the strange specificity of invented precision, 947, from a man who has never once known the time. Schopenhauer's essays on rhetoric read like a field guide to this overwork. The dishonest arguer, he noted, cannot leave a weak point alone, he decorates it, guards it, returns to it, and thereby marks it for anyone watching where the energy goes. That is the second check in one sentence. In every account, find where the effort is being spent. Truth spends evenly. Lies spend heavily, in exactly one place, and that place is the lie. Check 3, poke the structure, watch the reaction, seconds 12 to 20. The first 2 checks are passive. The third requires one gentle action, a single calm, factual question aimed at a load-bearing detail. Not an accusation, a poke. Which restaurant was it? So who else was in that meeting? What did she say exactly? Then you stop talking and run Schopenhauer's most reliable diagnostic. Honest people respond to questions, liars respond to questioning. The honest respondent treats your question as a request for information, because that is all it is to him. He consults memory, watch for the small pause, the eyes drifting as he genuinely retrieves, answers imperfectly, corrects himself, adds a stray irrelevant detail, and moves on without registering that anything happened. The deceptive respondent treats the identical question as an attack, because to him it is one, you have just pressed on scaffolding. Schopenhauer's Art of Being Right catalogues what comes next with uncanny completeness, since every trick in that book is a way of not answering. The counter-question, why are you suddenly interrogating me? The indignation spike, wildly disproportionate to a simple query, offense taken is often confession made. The topic relocation, arriving at your character, your trust issues, that thing you did in March. The repeated question, which restaurant? Which restaurant was it? Buying seconds for the lawyer to draft. And the fog, an answer longer than yours was, containing everything except the restaurant. One poke, 8 seconds of observation. You are not seeking a confession, you are sampling the structure's response to load. Truth flexes and holds. Lies either crack or, more commonly, respond to a 2-gram touch with 200 grams of counterforce, and that disproportion is the finding. Check 4, compare the channels, seconds 20 to 26. Schopenhauer held an almost mystical regard for the human face and manner as publications of character. He wrote that the outer man is a graphic reproduction of the inner, and advised studying people as one studies a text, with the words as merely one paragraph. Modernized and stripped of physiognomy's excesses, his point yields the fourth check. A person communicates on several channels at once, and lies rarely synchronize all of them. Spend 6 seconds reading the channels against each other. Words versus tone, I'm thrilled for you, delivered flat, a beat late, is 2 messages, and the tone is the honest one. Content is drafted by the lawyer, but melody leaks from the will. Words versus timing, the pause before an easy answer, the rush past a hard one. Words versus the body's grammar, the head faintly shaking no during a spoken yes, the smile that arrives after the punchline instead of with it, the sudden stillness of someone managing themselves. And words versus baseline, the most important comparison of all, and the reason this check fails strangers but works on everyone you know. You are not looking for textbook signs of lying, which decades of research have shown to be unreliable folklore. You are looking for deviation from this person's normal. The chatty friend gone terse, the composed colleague suddenly grooming his sleeve, the warm voice gone formal, deviation under a specific topic, recovering when the topic passes, is the channel conflict that matters. No single mismatch convicts, people are tired, awkward, distracted. But channels agreeing is cheap for truth and expensive for deception, and where 2 or 3 diverge at once, precisely on the load-bearing detail from check 3, the probability has moved decisively. Check 5, weigh the flattery discount, seconds 26 to 30. The final check addresses the lie you most want to believe, which is why Schopenhauer saved his sharpest warnings for it. He observed that our vanity is the honest world's largest unguarded gate. We apply rigorous skepticism to claims about the weather and none whatsoever to claims about ourselves, provided they are pleasant. The flatterer does not need craft, his audience does the deceiving for him, from inside. So the last 4 seconds run a simple discount. Does believing this make me feel special, chosen, superior, or vindicated? The compliment that precedes a request. "You're the only one who understands" that precedes a confession of need. The insider tip offered because "you're smarter than the usual clients." The lovers, "I've never felt this before," week 2. The recruiters, "We don't normally do this, but for you." None of these is necessarily false, all of them, arriving pleasure first, demand a discount, because pleasure is the anesthetic under which extraction is performed. Schopenhauer's formulation was character-based and typically merciless: we betray ourselves most reliably not through our fears but through our vanities, and the liar knows our vanities better than we do, having studied them for exactly this purpose. The discounts application takes one internal sentence: assess this claim as if it were about a stranger. If the golden opportunity, offered to a stranger, would make you snort, you have your answer, and it cost you 4 seconds instead of 4 months. Conclusion: clear sight without sour heart. Assemble the protocol and admire its economy. Seconds 1 through 5, locate the will. What does belief in this statement purchase for its speaker? 5 through 12, audit the effort. Where is this account working too hard? 12 through 20, one gentle poke at a load-bearing fact, then watch whether you get an answer or a defense. 20 through 26, compare the channels against each other and against this person's baseline. 26 through 30, apply the flattery discount to anything that arrives feeling wonderful. 30 seconds, no accusations, no gadgets, no confrontation, just structured attention, which was Schopenhauer's real bequest. He did not teach suspicion as an emotion, but scrutiny as a habit. And a note on practice, because the protocol only becomes fast through repetition. Run it first in observation-only mode, on conversations where you have no stake, interviews on television, sales calls you over here, negotiations at the next table. Locate the will, spot the overwork, watch how questions are received, read the channels. Within a couple of weeks the 5 checks compress from a deliberate sequence into a single background hum, and that hum, running quietly beneath your ordinary warmth, is what Schopenhauer meant by scrutiny as habit rather than suspicion as mood. 2 cautions keep the tool honest. First, the protocol yields probability, never proof. Its verdict is, slow down and verify, not convict. Real damage is done by confident lie detectors, and Schopenhauer, connoisseur of human error, would be the first to note that the paranoid deceive themselves more thoroughly than any con man could. Second, exempt no one from check one's logic, including yourself. Your own intellect is also a lawyer, also employed by a will, also happy to draft briefs explaining why the flattering claim is true and the inconvenient one is not. The 30 seconds you learn to run on others, run occasionally on your own beliefs. That, and not the poodle or the pessimism, is the old philosopher's finest lesson. The point of seeing through people was never to despise them. It was to stop being surprised by them, and in that unsurprised calm, to deal with everyone, liar and friend alike, from the one position deception cannot reach, eyes open, vanity discounted, and 30 seconds ahead.